Farmers have had enough. They're out on the roads with huge tractors, rolling into the capital in defiance. You could see them across London this morning, lined up and waiting for Rachel Reeves's deeply worrying budget. As arrests rise and tractors are stopped under police spotlights, quiet talk in Westminster is turning to something much bigger. People are whispering about a deeper betrayal that could shake more than a few hay bales. Stay with me. Hit that subscribe button now because we break this down properly and you don't want to miss it. Let's go through what's happened. A convoy of tractors still turned up in central London this morning, even though the Met Police had already banned vehicles from the protest. Last night, the Met posted on X saying people would still be allowed to demonstrate, but conditions had been set. Protesters were told they could not bring vehicles, including tractors or other agricultural machinery, to the protest. They said the decision was made because of the serious disruption those vehicles could cause to the local area, to businesses, emergency services, and Londoners just trying to get through their day. Nigel Farage MP hit back after reports that some protesters were detained by police under unclear circumstances. He promised legal help for any farmers protesting peacefully. The Reform UK leader wrote on X that the planned farmers' protest on Whitehall had been cancelled by the police at the last minute. Farmers still came to London and were now being arrested. His words: "This is outrageous. Reform UK will provide legal support to every farmer protesting peacefully today." Farmers drove a line of tractors into Westminster on Budget Day over proposed changes to inheritance tax. They came despite the Metropolitan Police decision banning agricultural machinery from the area. The protest is part of rising anger over Chancellor Rachel Reeves's plan to bring in a 20% inheritance tax on agricultural land and businesses worth more than £1 million from April 2026. This is hitting a sector already under huge strain, with rising costs, difficult markets, and the growing impact of climate change. One of the protest organizers told Sky News correspondent Dan Whitehead he was absolutely devastated when the group was told the demonstration was no longer allowed, adding that it was very hard to get the message out to everyone in time. Many were already on their way. They were coming anyway, he said. So unfortunately the Met have scored an own goal here. They created carnage. He went on. We know this has come from government. We know they don't want to listen to us, whether it's inside the house or out here on the street. But we need a road. We need to use our right to protest. At the end of the day, that's what's happening today. He added that these were all independent farmers who had come of their own volition. It's such an emotional issue, he said. You're talking about death and losing the family asset, the farm, which is how we earn our living. And by the way, we're producing food, not dodging work. Taxing working people like this. It's impossible for us to go on. Wednesday's protest is just the latest in a series of demonstrations against the inheritance tax changes. Farmers also brought tractors to Whitehall in December, joined by thousands of supporters, warning the plan would threaten their businesses, their futures, and the country's food security. Doesn't that organizer's message echo all the way into the Commons? These are people who get up at dawn to feed the country. Now they're being handcuffed in Trafalgar Square like criminals, simply for driving tractors near the centers of power. And Starmer? Silent. Reeves, hidden behind her red budget box, ready to bring down that 20% tax blade on family farms worth over £1 million. But stop and ask, why the sudden hard line from the Met? One moment it's polite posts on X. The next, you've got officers putting cuffs on granddads in muddy boots. Is this Keir Starmer's Britain, where protesting to protect your livelihood gets you arrested faster than you can order a pint at last orders? On one side, you have Rachel Reeves, the tough chancellor with her city spreadsheets. On the other, you've got weathered farmers like Andy Corner from Gloucestershire, who is battling cancer while trying to pass his fifth-generation arable farm onto his children without the taxman slicing it apart. Corner told reporters this morning, "This is madness. It's like the government wants us gone." And Starmer, the man who claims to stand for fairness, is nowhere near the front line. His promises sound as empty as an old grain silo. The drama picked up speed as tractors blocked parts of Whitehall, engines running in protest. "Reeves is killing the family farm," Corner shouted to ITV cameras as police vans circled. Then came the arrests. Several arrests already. We heard farmers detained for breaching protest conditions, according to the Met. But people on X posted videos showing calm, peaceful farmers being led away. Tommy Robinson shared one clip, adding the caption, "Welcome to UK 2025. Farmers arrested for feeding us." Anger exploded online. These aren't extremists. These are the quiet workers who face floods, frosts, and now what feels like fiscal frostbite from a Labour government that promised change and instead delivered chains. At the same time as Reeves stood up at the dispatch box, leaks suggested she was planning to freeze income tax thresholds again, dragging more people into higher bands while insisting it was fair. Fair, she says, while people on average wages pay more and more. Let's dig deeper. This isn't the first time Reeves has clashed with the countryside. The current protest goes back to her October 2024 budget announcement, where she capped agricultural property relief at £1 million and proposed a 20% charge on the remaining value, payable over 10 years interest-free. On paper, that sounds lenient. In reality, National Farmers Union President Tom Bradshaw warned today that the plan would force land sales, break up long-standing communities, and drive food prices higher. The Treasury's official line is that this is about closing loopholes used by wealthy landowners and investors. Farmers push back, saying, "We're asset-rich and cash-poor. This is a death tax on our dreams." There was another quiet detail buried in Reeves's speech. Even while tractors sat idle in London, she announced that some payments, like lump sums taken from pension pots, will be exempt from IHT. A small concession for some, but nothing for family farms. "Those payments will be exempt," she intoned, as if that alone fixed the problem. But why protect pensions while hitting farms so hard? That's a question many are asking. The divide is getting sharper. Between Starmer's sharp suits in the city and the mud-covered boots of protesters in the fields, it feels like rural Britain is being squeezed. Environment Secretary Steve Reed tried to spin the policy by accusing non-farming investors of buying up land and shutting out young farmers. But that is little comfort to families facing potential bills of up to £500,000 on typical farms. Remember yesterday's Day of Unity go-slows? Convoys crawling along roads from Somerset to Northamptonshire. Farmers like Mark Watler from Lincolnshire calling the protests the tip of the iceberg, pointing to climate woes, soaring costs, and a cost of living crisis that has pushed them to breaking point. And there's more. Nigel Farage isn't just posting online. Reform UK's deputy leader has attacked Reeves for ignoring food security and promised to push the issue in Parliament. Even ex-Bank of England figures are weighing in, saying Reeves has mishandled a very difficult situation. Here's the key moment. This is not a one-off. Link it back to December 2024's Whitehall standoff, when thousands carried Save Our Farms banners, and to January's children delivering letters to Downing Street on behalf of their farming families. After the budget, a Treasury minister quietly confirmed there would be no changes. The plans stand. But polls now show something close to a rural revolt, with 1 in 3 Brits worried about Labour's direction on farming. It's painful, isn't it? Decades of hard work poured into the soil, now met with a tax policy that feels like a bite out of everything families built. Starmer talks about unity while living far from these daily struggles. Yet these farmers show real patriotism, the same determination that kept Britain fed through wars and harsh winters. Could this be the spark that forces a rethink? Some leaks suggest advisors expect a rush towards trusts, restructures, and land sales, reshaping the countryside for a generation. One beef farmer confronted a Starmer effigy, saying he had never done a hard day's work. That anger is raw and real. Meanwhile, social media is on fire. Ex-posts from accounts like Bob Foray Fuel Brexit complain about two-tier policing, highlighting clips of handcuffed farmers. Public sympathy is rising. There's frustration, but also a sense of hope that standing together might change something. Farage's promise of legal backing could give more farmers the confidence to speak out and step forward. "We are the power," one group chanted, a line that echoes past battles, including the poll tax protests. And isn't it striking? A government elected on a promise of change now accused of rewriting the rules in a way that burdens the very people who keep us supplied with food. Reeves's budget doesn't stop at farms. It includes £26 billion in tax rises by 2029 to 30, along with CGT tweaks and tighter gifting rules. Farmers are now eyeing local elections as their next leverage point, vowing not to let this fight fade. Got the message? one protester shouted as Reeves's car went past. The chances of a government U-turn on farm tax? Almost none unless the pressure keeps building. Behind closed doors, advisors are warning of faster farm closures, weaker food security, and a country that already imports around half its veg becoming even more exposed. How long before empty shelves make city voters finally pay attention? The sense of betrayal is deep. Labor's talk of fair choices feels, to many rural families, like a stacked deck where their voices don't carry. Yet there's still a belief among some that this could reignite pride in the countryside, pride in our green and pleasant land, and in the people who work it. Here's the final twist. A new poll today shows 30% of Brits are frightened by Labour's direction, and Nigel Farage's words still cut through. This is outrageous. If what you've heard today made your blood boil, hit like, drop a comment and subscribe. We're not finished. We'll keep digging into every detail of this story, because it's not just about tax rules. It's about who feeds Britain, who listens to them, and who turns their backs.